Welcome again. This is our part 3 of our What Happened to Common Sense. And before we discussed about ethics and expectation of behavior, and it's not enforceable. And now we're going to talk about jurisprudence, which is a science of law. And it's very interesting because, sometime in the 15th, 16th century, society did not know how to read or write, and only the nobles and the priests and the ministers and the religious people, the theologians, knew how to read. And at that time, society believed that there is a supernatural power. And then by the time people start questioning, and we had birth of science, we find out that Earth was round and it was not in the center. We find out a lot of things. And we start questioning, maybe there is no superpower, maybe there's no a creator, maybe there's no, and people start asking questions. And it's very interesting because when I was studying in Europe, there was a time where we had 2 popes, and popes used to get married. And by the 19th century, I guess 1885, 1886, I can't remember the exact date, the pope became infallible because people start reading, people start learning how to read and start asking questions, and we did not know the answer. So the Pope became infallible. Whatever he said, this is it, and you don't ask questions. It's very interesting. But then not only we start asking questions about religions and superpower and supernatural strength, but we start asking questions like, maybe there is not such a thing as sin. Maybe the diseases we have in our world, it's up to us humans to find a cure and to make people better. So that's what made it so interesting, because we had the birth of science, hard science. We had the birth of social science. We start having studies. We start figuring out things and trying to solve our own problem by ourselves. And so we came also to the question, do we need law? We need law, and this is where jurisprudence is a science of study of law. And it provides a theory, it provides an explanation why we need laws. And of course, you're going to have different group of people. There's a lot of them. I'm going to stick to the 3-1 that's more important. But before I even go into what's a theory is an hypothesis. A theory is something that we're trying to prove. And of course, there's nothing 100% proof. You still make a decision by faith on what you want to believe. So in a way, in few words, a theory provides explanation why or how come we're doing what we're doing. If it's social science, why we behave the way we're doing. If it's hard science, why chemistry, why certain chemicals work in a certain way. But that's what a theory is. It provides an explanation for our behavior, for our conduct, for the reason we're doing what we're doing. And law, again, like I said before, is some kind of social control. It's enforcing some kind of rule by the government. It's governing relationship among individuals, and among individual in business, and among individual in their society. This is where we're going to go into criminal law and civil law, and you're going to see the difference between that. Law is substantive, policy making. And also law is procedural. To enforce a certain conduct, you have to follow a certain procedure. And it's very interesting. You have to file certain paper a certain time. You have so many days to do certain things. That's another interesting. Again, to enforce the expectation of behavior. There is 4 jurisprudential, I'm getting confused with jurisdiction, which we're going to go in later. Jurisprudential thoughts. There's natural law, historical or conventional, positivism law, and legal realism. And the natural law says, the theories that they're providing explanation why we need law is we need law because it's already inscribed in our heart. We have a conscience, we have a soul, we know what is right and wrong. If you take a little child, he's going to blame his brother for doing something. No child, when they do something, spill juice or hitting their friend or in a nursery, they right away says, I didn't do it. It's natural for us right away to blame somebody else. And this is why the law is there in our heart. We know what is right and what is wrong. We know when we offended somebody, there is no excuses. And of course, the historical or conventional law, they say, hey, what about the 10 commandments? They're written in stones. And like I always say, it's 10 commandments, not 10 suggestions. And the nice things about the 10 commandments, then I hear, how come we don't have 15? How come we don't have 25? We have 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill. However, we know that we do killing. So thou shalt not kill, but then the method and the manner of killing is cultural. We have society that don't even kill animals. But then in our society, we can kill during war. In our society, we kill by driving while you're intoxicated. In our society, we kill without being driving while you're intoxicated because somebody provoked me. You see that. Sometimes we have insanity. Somebody that killed must be insane. So that's what's very interesting. And some people say law is really tradition, customs. You just are doing certain things. It's been working that way. We don't allow certain behavior, and we continue that way. In a way, if you want to make it, we have a definition of what a family is in our society. It's law. A family is a man and a woman by marriage. And of course, we have problem now because we start accepting the behavior of the same gender's marriage. And now it's state by state, not every state yet. I know New Jersey does not have it. I know Massachusetts is working on it. But these are the situations that I want you to know, hey, for years and years and years, that's what a family was. Don't change now. That's the way it is. Don't start changing things. But again, if law reflects social changes, we have to do certain things. The positivism says, hey, there is not such a thing as a conscience. There is not such a thing as natural. There is not such a thing as the 10 Commandments. Here we go, you're bringing religion again. The positivism says law is whatever the country or that nation says is law. So if the speeding, in a way that's in our society, an example would be if you're going down the road and it says do not speed limit is 35, that's law. And if you go 45, you're doing something illegal. But does not mean that that is appropriate behavior, because sometimes, like in Europe, you don't have that. I mean, everybody speed down the road. The only thing they tell you that you cannot go, that now after 85, it's illegal to go. But they don't have this like we have every corner, different measurements. Certain corners 25, certain places is 35, certain time is 55, certain time is 65. Over there, they have one standard. So the positivism says, whatever the president or the nation or Congress says it's law, it's law. And of course, what's the problem with the positivism? Because with the natural law, the problem is if you don't believe in God, or a creator, or a supernatural power. With historical conventional law, suppose there's no tradition, or you don't like the tradition and you want to change it, that you're going to have a problem. The positivism, I hate to go back again to Hitler example, but if law is what the nation says is law, well, he made a law to kill all the Jewish people, and that's okay. Well, we know that that is not okay. And then, of course, the legal realism is the contemporary law of science of law. Legal realism says really today, and this is what we're practicing, law is what the judge says it's law. That's all there is to it. So we know as an attorney whether, what kind of judge he is. That's what's very important. We read the opinions, because then from the opinions we know his ethics. We know his values, because that's what a judge does in legal realism. He takes his view, his value, his beliefs, and he makes it a law by case. Because no one is going to make a decision against his principle, against his values. So, and of course, everybody thinks that their behavior is the best behavior, and they wish everybody would behave the way they do it. The difference between you and I and the judge is that we can expect that from other people, but it's not enforceable. We just hope and we desire, and we hope someday maybe it becomes law. But with the judge, by case, it becomes law, or Congress. And this is where, if you continue to read the slides, explain what natural law is all about and how it started. And then you go into historical conventional law, which again explain just exactly what I was giving you an illustration. The conventional law, again, makes it legal because of the history. Then we have the positivism, where the law is the supreme will of the state, and you see the problem with that. And the positive, again, is the morality law, or whether the law is bad or good. It's irrelevant. If this is what the government say you have to do, this is what you do. And of course, I'm using the Hitler example. So what is legal realism, which is our contemporary legal thought, and this is what judges do. Jurisprudence that holds law is not simply as a result of written law, but a product of the views of the judicial decision matter, as well as social, economic, and contextual influence. The judge is going to use his view, and then he's going to make his decision or what he views as good for the society, for that community, for that county, for that state, and says, we're not going to accept that behavior, or yes, we're going to do that kind of a thing. And one very important thing that I'd like to share with you is that we are free in this country. And so the code of law can only tell us what we cannot do. Not what we can do, but we cannot do, because we are free to do anything we want to. Okay, question for discussion. Again, we're going back to the same thing. What is the proper role of business? And I'm going to ask this in your bulletin board, because I would like to know if you remember what is the proper role. I'm asking you to please not to memorize anything, but to understand the logic behind of the social responsibility and the expectation, and what expectation is enforceable by law in business, and what expectation is only ethical. This is what, how much governmental, and this is again some of the questions that we discussed in previous part. Thank you.